Welcome to the Creating Your Conditions. Welcome to the Creating Your Conditions podcast, a work of understanding the conditions we are given, the conditions we create, and the conditions we have yet to achieve. You can find us at Creating Your Conditions on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. My name is Vincenzo or Vin, and I use they, them, theirs pronouns, and I am here as your host. In today's episode, I am interviewing Megan Lessert, the general manager of Abbey Catering in San Diego, bringing over a decade of experience in the hospitality industry with a strong background in education. With degrees in Education and Sociology, as well as years of teaching experience, Megan blends her passion for learning, creating unforgettable events, and serving the LGBTQ plus community through her work. And without further ado, here's the episode. Megan, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Excited to chat with you. We were just talking that Megan is one of my good friend's partners, but I've never met her in person.
Yes, but I've heard so much about you.
Likewise. Only good things, I hope, for both of us.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep. Or I actually do remember, I think I saw you one time, this was a couple years ago, and it was like Ride Your Bike to Work Day or something. And yes, and so that was a really fun time, and I know Nicole like rode to Pride on their bike, and you were part of that somehow.
we were posted up there together. Yeah.
So I think I didn't drive by that day or something, but
okay, so I have 3 questions that I can ask you as an opening question. So you can pick one.
Okay.
If you had to describe your life as a sandwich, what would be in it and why? What are you manifesting for yourself right now? And what's a weirdly specific life goal you have? So you can answer any of those 3 to start us off.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I like how you sandwiched between like this like really serious topic, and then now I'm thinking about roast beef and cheddar sandwiches. I don't know what's going on. Okay. My weird life goal is to own a pug farm.
Pug? Amazing.
Pug farm. So I'll know that I've made it when I am surrounded by a bunch of little pugs in my own little farm.
What's the inspiration for this pug farm?
They're just so awesome. And everyone who knows me, they know that I just have this total soft spot for pugs. And I've got Boogie here with me, he's just my work support, and they're just so awesome. Why not?
What's Boogie's full name?
Boogie Woogie Lessert. Boogie Woogie Smalls.
Amazing.
Lessert. Verdez, if we're gonna go that far.
Amazing. I didn't know that. I will help fund that if I have the means in the future. So I really wish that can happen for you.
Thank you. Perfect. I will write you down as a potential list of donors. I'll send that list to Nicole.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I would like to be personally stewarded.
But no, they're just my happy place. So whenever I think of that, I just, it's ridiculous.
I love that. And also like, farm and homesteading and just being able to have, maybe provide that joy for others too, if there's a bunch of them, right?
Yeah, totally. And of course it would have to be, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but I'm not a breeder, I'm not a greeter, none of that. So they would be like totally just like, little babies that I'm not breeding, like that they're adoptable, right? I don't know. Who knows? Or they're just going to frolic on the farm, and that's their life. Yeah,
there's a golden retriever farm in Vermont that I have considered buying the experience of going for, so that because my partner loves Goldens, so there's something there.
Very cute. There's something there. I'm telling you, there is something there. And then there's, Cup of Pug, which they just came to California. And it's like this whole, you hang out with pugs, and then you get like coffees and lattes and this and that.
I like that.
It's a thing.
these cat cafes and dog cafes, they're happening
Yeah.
already. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how profitable they are, but but by that time, I don't care about
Right.
profit.
If you can
Right?
afford a
So
farm, it's not about the money.
if I if I can afford a farm,
Yeah. Cool.
I'm
I
good.
love that.
Yeah.
Sponsor a pug. Write me down.
Yes.
Very cool. Okay, so why don't we get into you? Oh, another little pug.
And I just got this for my birthday yesterday. It's a little pug paperweight, little black one.
I love the little pouch.
So it's
Little
ridiculous.
stomach pooch.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Anywho, all right, that's a good opener.
No, I love that. Let's talk about you. I guess, where were you like born and raised, and so where's home for you?
Yeah. I'm gonna pull a Nicole. No, just kidding.
Oh, if people wanna,
it's twofold. Home for me is California now. But I am not originally born and raised here. So I'm born and raised in Florida. Naples, Florida, and then Orlando is where, I grew up. So by Disney World and all those things. Fun fact, my mom, everyone, if you live in Orlando, you work at Disney World. But my mom, for a stint, wore the Mickey costume. Like, she was Mickey Mouse, which is pretty cool. That was back in the day. But yeah, no. So Florida, but no one's there anymore. Yeah, everyone's either passed away or moved away, and so now my home is San Diego.
What was it like growing up in Florida? And I don't know where, is it Naples, you said?
Yeah, that was just where I was born. So Naples is pretty close to Miami. It's like about 45 minutes from Miami. But I was just born there. I don't really have too many memories there. So all my memories would be from Central Florida. So yeah, Orlando. If you want to further that little pinpoint, Kissimmee, or as non-locals say, Kissimmee, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. No, weird deal there. Every weird thing that you have heard about Florida is very true. I'm here to say that they are not just Florida-isms; they are true. I went to Gatorland. When I was in school, like that's a thing. You just like go and like watch gators like jump out of the water and.
The state is like a peninsula, so the water and the life in the water makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, but politically, all those things, and I'm, I'm out now. Thank goodness for that. But where I came from, there's no GSAs. There
Gay
was
Student
no
Alliance, Gay Straight Alliance. Okay.
Yeah. There was none of that. And I was trying to think back. I'm like, was I just like not looking for it and I didn't see it? But no.
So did you know pretty young that you were queer? Since you mentioned thinking about the GSA, so.
Yeah, no, that's me like thinking back now as an adult. And I was thinking as a child or a young person, I'm not certain I was actually seeking that out. But now that I'm going back as an adult thinking on it, I'm like, no, it wasn't there. It wasn't even a thing. So to answer your question, no, I didn't necessarily know that there was any other way of being. Just, I had no examples, no nothing. And, but I was definitely one of those kids who like always had a crush on their English teacher, so there was always that. And I was always asking and wanting people to adopt me, just weird. I was one of those kids.
Why do you think you're asking people to adopt you?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, that's for another podcast, another day. But yeah, weird childhood there. But I always just wanted to get out. I'm like, just please, I'm a good kid. I promise I do all my homework. I do all my chores. Just don't hit me. So I always clung to my teachers, and I was an A+ student. I graduated
Wow.
valedictorian. Um, yeah, I just always was this like young overachiever, just because I knew that was my way out. That was my only way out. We didn't have any money. We didn't have a lot of
Mhm.
money. Um, but I just like somehow inherently knew like education is my ticket away. Whatever that looks like, I don't know, and I don't
From your
care.
home or from Florida or both?
Ooh, I mean, both.
Okay.
Yeah, both. Um, but even after high school, I went to I am very proud. I love my story and where I came from, and I have a lot of pride. And I went to Florida State University for my undergrad, and I loved it. It was a great experience. It was about 4 hours away from Orlando, my home, so that was further enough for me. Like I didn't want to be there. There was no home for me to stay at, for one. But yeah, did the dorm life, did all that, did a lot of growing up on my own, and so that kind of set me up to be a adult, and do the things that I needed to do to get away. And then I moved to California pretty shortly after that.
Okay. Um, so it sounds like you
Yeah.
really wanted that distance from family. Um, I see.
Yes. Yeah.
And how do
Yep.
you, I don't know, I
Yep.
guess like for me growing up personally, as an immigrant and a child of immigrants, like it's a little different than somebody whose family has been here for generations to think about what I can do to leave. Like even when I went to
Mhm.
college, I still felt tethered and I still am tethered to my parents. So I guess when
Mm.
did you think
Mhm.
like I guess when did it click for you that your grades were going to be your way out? And like, did you see examples of that in your family maybe that helped you see like, oh, this is why this will work for me?
Um, Great question. Also, I think like well, I'll let that be there. But yeah, no, it definitely started in middle school. So early middle school, I just knew that I needed to make good grades. Also, that was something really important. There was a lot of structure and a lot of like, you have to make good grades. So it wasn't really an option either, but I also knew that it would serve me
Mm.
well later on. Um, but no, there actually wasn't a lot of examples. My brothers, who I'm very close with, I have two brothers, they're twins, and they're awesome. They live in Georgia now, both of them. But their out was military. They both
Ah.
joined the Navy, um, and left home. And so I didn't necessarily want to do that. There was a part I was like, oh, I'll do that too. I could join the military. I was in ROTC. I did those things, and I thought that was going to be my way out. But then I'm a very rebellious person. Um, and I knew that I wouldn't do well under someone telling me what to do. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out a freer way to get out of here, and that was just going to
Hmm.
college. So I was the first one um, in my family to get a proper
Oh,
degree.
so you're first gen.
And
Okay.
mhm, mhm, yep. Even my brothers. I mean, I was yeah, when I was in high school, I did, like I said, I don't know. I was taking college courses. I graduated college before I could legally drink, you know. So that's all I knew. So I was taking a bunch of college courses. I was going to, night school, community college, got all that, and then I had enough credits. So when I went to Florida State, I was already like a second year, even though I was only
Yeah.
a freshman. Um, so
Very hungry.
I don't know where else.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But also it excited me. I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved being good at something. And being the best at something. I always just strive to be that, and it served me well
Yeah.
so far.
Did you have
So
any mentors through
yeah,
high school or college that helped like get you, speed running through all of those things? Because it seems like you're like as a
I'm always
valedictorian, you were like
yes.
crushing it, and then entering with that many credits your first year is that's
I mean, as much as a 13-year-old can be crushing life, yes, I was, I was not crushing it.
On paper, you were.
But no, I certainly had mentors. I certainly had mentors. I cannot say that I did this on my own. I have always had some pretty awesome people ushering through my path that I've clinged on to. And like I said, I mean, usually that's going to be my teachers. And I actually got my teaching credential a couple years ago in 2018 because I've always had a passion for teaching because they have given me so much. Turns out that's not always the best reason to get into education. But truly, they were my lifesaver, and my English teacher that I fell in love with. Shout out Sharon Pitzel. What up? We used to stay friends, and now we just grew apart. But it's just I've always had teachers to encourage me and uplift me, and I would go into their homeroom and cry and help me in this and that, and can you just put me to work, can you just give me something to do, and they were always there to do that and guide me, and yeah, teachers, 100%. Shout out to my teachers. Thank goodness for you.
I'm glad you had them. As I know, I relied on my teachers a lot, and I didn't have a lot of structure, or well, there was structure. It was just very hard discipline in my home. So school was my escape, and like getting the grades and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, similar. Yeah.
So when you went to,
so I was happy to do homework. I was like, please just get me in my room. I don't want to, because that's the thing. I didn't want to be around my parents and all that stuff. So I was like, just give me homework.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I can see that.
Yeah.
What did you study in undergrad?
English education is what I started as. So I wanted to be an English teacher, like straight up. I was just mimicking what I saw and thought that I loved. And I was very good at it. But then life circumstances changed a little bit, and I wound up getting my undergrad in sociology.
Okay.
I couldn't finish my last year. I had wound up moving to California, so I changed majors so I could finish the last few credits online, and so and sociology was the only kind of pathway that was going to meet me where I was at. So sociology.
What prompted?
Yep. And political science.
Okay. Yep. What prompted that move?
Yeah. Hey. Marriage the first time. Yeah. That might be touching on a spot that I don't necessarily want to go down.
Understood.
But yeah, no, got married to my best friend at the time. He is awesome, and we're still friends today. But they were in the military, and then I wound up, again, I wanted my way out, and still searching, and that kind of, again, just this apex moment. And so I wound up, moving to California a little bit ahead of schedule, what I would have liked, but it just, that's how it was. And so that's what brought me to California in the beginning. Was that.
But you kind of already knew you wanted to move to California, it sounds like. It was just quicker than you had planned.
No. So I never really set my eyes on California. I just wanted away from home, where if that was in North Florida, where I was, maybe even further. But this was an opportunity that I was like, ooh, California?
Okay.
Yes, please. So it was actually the military that kind of prompted that seed in my brain. And then, and then once I got out here, I was like, oh, okay, now I know. And I was just very grateful to be in San Diego.
Okay, so you landed in San Diego because there's a lot of military bases in San Diego. Got it.
Yeah. And it wasn't an immediate there. First, it was Fresno.
Ooh, yeah.
Awful. Sorry for all my Fresno people.
There's just nothing
out
there.
Yeah, that was interesting. There's nothing. It just cows and whatever. I mean, that's cool if that's that, but that didn't feel like I was living in California. So that was a big letdown. I was like, I'm going to California. And I'm in like California's armpit. Yeah. But anyway, so it was there first. I went back to Florida, back to California again, and then it was Oceanside. A little bit better, right? So then I lived in Oceanside for a bit, and then eventually I trickled down, down into San Diego proper.
So this time period kind of sounds like after college, like very common transitionary period where, I'm like, you
100%.
have more agency to like move because you have less things tying you down to a place. So I'm wondering what did you learn about yourself in that time of like moving, realizing, this one place in California wasn't for you, and like maybe what it was like to go back to Florida for a little bit before you came back here?
Yeah. I didn't realize how much agency I had. To this day, my aunt calls me Rebel Megan, and it sticks because I just didn't realize how much of that fire and fight that I had in me. And I think deep down I know where it comes from, and it comes from survival. But the fact that I just said, yes, I'm free enough. I had a stable enough option to move where I knew I wasn't going to fall on my face. And so I did it. And then like, once you just start doing things, I'm like, yeah, I can drive across country if I want, because I can. Like I don't need I don't need someone to tell me what to do or tell me, and then just if I fail, I fail. But I've never failed at anything. I mean, I've not gotten the outcome that I've always wanted, but I've never failed. So I think that's kind of what I learned during that time was just, no, if I say I'm going to do something, I can do it, and I'm going to do it. And it just kind of kept proving to me that I can do these things. And I don't need to rely on anyone else. I can do it myself. So Rebel Megan, I just did what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. And it was a long time getting here. Did a lot of weird things. But here I am.
So when you moved to Oceanside, so that's like North San Diego County for those that don't know, what were you doing in life at that time?
Yeah, so I started just to work. I was like, all right, now I got to work. I got my undergrad degree. So I started working for Bank of America. Fun story about that. I was robbed at gunpoint.
Oh.
That was not fun. And that kind of was like, yeah, this isn't for me.
Were you a teller?
So
okay.
I was a teller at the time. Yeah. Palomar Airport Road,
Dang.
Bank of America. And random Saturday, there's not much going on. And yes, so robbed at gunpoint as a teller. And but then like after that, I personal banking, and then it's this funny and sweet and just cosmic bouncy ball that everyone else that I met, I've always had a next step laid out for me, sort of an option. And, when I was working for Bank of America, I was a teller, personal banker, all the things. And then I met a businessman. His name's Craig, amazing guy. And he was in the insurance industry. And I sat with him to talk about his business stuff for banking purposes. And he just was like, you got to come work for me. You've got the brain, you've got the brawn, you've got all the things, and so that kind of, again, catapulted me into like another sector of insurance and health insurance. So so I took that job, and then I started to go back to school to get my master's degree, which is where I really grew up. That was another weird time. Just trying to figure out who the hell I was. I didn't really know.
What did you do your master's in?
Sociology. Sociological practice is the official title, but sociology. So sociology in practice, if you will. So just turning things on its head, just looking at things from a different perspective, that's what I love about that discipline is, especially coming from Florida, it's like there's only one way to think about things until someone tells you open a goddamn book and open your mind to another way of looking at it. And I think that was the beautiful thing that kind of clicked with me with getting my master's degree in sociology, is like, no, there's a whole other way of looking at the world and being part of the world. And that's where I met my incredible wife, Nicole. Woo woo.
Shouts.
And but again, like, real weird time. It was not love at first sight and fireworks and all these things. I was just weird. We were all awkward and weird and just trying to figure things out, and again, that's the beauty of going to school, is you're just in a pod of people who are equally weird and equally just trying to make it and figure shit out. And so I'm really grateful for that time as well. But I did a lot of growing up. And yeah, and then got my degree, and I started, and during that time I was getting a divorce. I wound up getting a divorce, and picking up, I was on Craigslist because, like, I've got to make money, like, okay, I'm losing a second income. How am I, and Rebel Megan, I gotta survive, so what do? I'm out here on my own. I don't have anybody to give me any money. So I figured it out, and I was working jobs, and I found an ad on Craigslist to start, part-time server at this catering company called Abbey Catering.
Well, it's a good
where I work now. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Before we get into there, you mentioned, figuring out who you were a lot in that master's program that you were in. But you also mentioned earlier in our conversation that you didn't know there was another way of being when I asked you if you knew you were queer when you were younger. So was that part of that time period too? Okay.
It sure was. Yeah. And I'm proud to say it, and I think there's a stigma, at least in my experience, especially of late blooming lesbians. I don't know what you want to call it, but I didn't identify as gay or queer or anything when I was in high school. I just only knew one way, and I dated my best friend, my brother's best friend at that, and that's all I knew, and it was safe, and it was just what we did. But now, when I was going to school and, again, reading books and just being around people and just expanding my life experiences, it was like, oh my gosh, like, no, I can kind of do whatever the hell I want to do. And I've always been attracted to women. I've always found them beautiful and smart and all of these things. I just didn't know that I could be, other ways attracted. But with that, it was just the perfect storm in college and that. And but I had other, I'm digressing now. I'm gonna let that one lie there. But it was fun. It was fun to figure out. And then I love who I work with.
I'm glad you were figuring that out, though. And
I feel really, yeah. Oh, and on top of that, I will say my brother's gay as well. One of them. So they're twins. One of them's gay. So he actually started the, like, opening my mind, because he was always just, and he wasn't like different by any means, but his story is very interesting and hard and tough, and also kind of like, oh shit, like maybe I shouldn't, I don't know, it was just, it's hard to, sorry, I'm being a little evasive, but when he came out to me, it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, well, I always knew, so thank you for telling me straight to my face. But also that kind of, again, we were just older. We were getting older, and we were like, yeah, we can do this, and it's okay. And it doesn't matter how we grew up. Like, this is who my brother is. And I adore my brothers. They're my best friends. And nothing would change that. So that was kind of a cool moment in time. And then it just kind of, again, opened the door for me. But it's also funny because then I felt, well, I can't possibly be gay if my brother's gay. He took that away from me. But here we are. We can both be gay in this big wide world.
I mean, it's complicated, you know. I grew up a lot in Los Angeles, California, and I still didn't really have the words for it myself. But I remember being like 10 or 12, arguing with my mom about the kinds of clothes I could wear, and she was like, "Why are you always picking boys' clothes?" And I'm like, "Clothes don't have a gender, Mom. Like, clothes is made from cotton.
Yeah.
Cotton doesn't have a sex." Like, I was like having these conversations.
You can vocalize that. I could never.
I still didn't know I was queer until I was like in college or like the end of college in my mid-20s, you know, because of lack of other people being queer around me, not having that kind of language, family not being supportive, or kind of very don't ask, don't tell if I have a queer aunt or something, you know, like we just don't talk about their sexuality in that way. We don't talk about their family structure in that way, but only the hetero ones. And so it makes sense that like so many queer people don't know until they're older, like because they're just not exposed to it. It's stigmatized. It's not a part of conversation. And you know, I think the internet plays a role in that too, obviously, and when you could search things up and like what you could search.
And remember, I don't know how old
I'm 31.
You are. I'm not 31. Okay, so I'm older than you are. And back then, and I'm not like super old. I'm in my late 30s. Well, I just had my birthday. I'm 38, folks. But like internet was still like, I still had dial-up when I was growing up. Like I had to do those things. And let's not forget, so it's not actually, it wasn't also, that information wasn't as accessible as it is to young people now. And again, like even when I was working in the school system, you know, having access to librarians who would have materials on LGBTQ plus issues and things like that. Like we certainly didn't have that in Florida, nor anyone who was like fostering that. But yeah, good on you for telling, you know, like I'm going to wear this hoodie because I like it. And I guess I had a few of those things. Like I hated bows. Everyone always wanted to dress me in fucking bows. And I'm like, I would rip them off, you know, and I didn't know it at the time, but I just knew I didn't like frilly clothes
always
and things
hated
like that.
dresses.
I just was always a tomboy.
I thought heels were oppressive when I was like 14. I was like, this is stupid. Why would I do this to my feet? Like, this sucks.
Yeah. And I tried. I tried it. I gave it my all. I wore the heels. I wore the oppressor shoe. And I just finally said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to pretend and try to fit a mold that just, it doesn't feel good.
Just dresses and stuff aren't for everybody. You know, anyone can wear whatever they want, but you shouldn't impose it because of the body you assume that person has, you know, and the role you think it has in society.
Yeah. Oh, preach it. See? How sociological of you.
But yeah, there are always signs, you know, but either someone doesn't affirm it when we're younger, or no one gives us an open space. And sometimes it takes until like you're in college and there's more people around you. Like sociology tends to be one of the humanities that is more progressive because you're talking about so many experiences of people and how to work with people's experiences, right? So
that's it. Yeah, so I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful for that experience.
What did you, I know that you're at the Abbey now and you landed that first catering job there not too long after, but what did you originally want to do with that master's?
Oh, I've always wanted to teach. So funny story about that is that when I moved to California, I thought I did enough research, but I guess not. I assumed in Florida you can Florida's so
Florida is
special.
so special.
So I and maybe rules have changed. I'm certain things have changed now. I mean, it's been forever since I've lived there, been there, and done the thing. But back in the day, you could teach in Florida with like an associate's degree. Like you could, so the 2-year college degree, and then of course you go on to get your 4-year. But then you could teach college, high school, whatever. So when I moved to California, I was looking into getting a teaching degree at that time, and that was in 2009-ish. Because I started the master's program in 2010. But I was looking into it, and I was like, I have to get a teaching credential in, and then also in Florida at that time, if you had a master's degree, you just were a shoo-in. You could teach anywhere. You got a master's degree. You're fucking brilliant, right? So California, I was like, if I have to get a teaching credential, and that's going to take me 2 years, but I could get a master's degree for 2 years. That sounds way better. So I opted for the master's degree because I thought that would get me further, and that I could also do what I wanted to do, which was teach with that. I didn't actually understand that I couldn't teach with a master's degree. Like, California is just so you have to have a credential. I wasn't really like putting all the pieces together. So long story longer, I was like, I'm gonna get this master's degree. It sounds cool, easy peasy. So I just enrolled in that program, and that's kind of what took me onto a different directory. And again, I wound up getting my teaching credential in 2018. So I've got a lot of education under my belt, but just a funny way of getting there.
And I mean, because you're first gen, right? And a lot of my guests have tended to be first gen. I would say majority of everybody that I have is first in their family to go to college. Like, that just means no one has done it around you, you know? And that is complicated if the people around you are also not always people you can ask for help, you know? Not just that they didn't have that experience, but you don't have a good relationship with them. That extra complicates things. And if you move kind of on your own, like you did, it makes sense that you're just like, well, I don't know that there's different rules here versus there. Like, I just thought this should be standardized, which I think that speaks to one of the biggest complications of this country is how big it is, and how there are so many states that have to work within and between each other that, of course, like, people are going to be like, wait, what do you mean I can't do this over there?
Yeah, right? Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and like, psychologists, right, or therapists always have to know where you're at because you might be in a place they can't practice.
that's a thing too. That is true.
Okay. So then you got your teaching credential, and you got your master's. So you wanted to teach, and what do you still want to, or what changed? And was it needing a job, that took precedent?
So I've always, like I said, I always wanted to teach, and that's why even after I got my master's degree, and even after I was working for the Abbey part-time and then full-time, I've always been a teacher, right? So I'm always, once I learn something, it's my innate nature to pass on that knowledge. I'm like, and sometimes selfishly, right? I'm like, no, I need you to learn this because it's going to help make my life and job easier, right? So sit here and I'm going to show you how to do it. But teaching is such a universal thing, whether it's a corporate or personal or whatever. So I've always just had that. But like I said in the beginning, I just always genuinely wanted to be in a school setting. I like the structure. It was always a safe place for me, per se. And I've always loved my teachers. And I was like, well, I want to be that. I want to be that person. But after I got my master's degree and realized I couldn't teach, and then I started getting into the job with the Abbey, I was like, well, maybe I missed that boat, and now I'll just use this teaching thing that I have inside of me to work for good for my company. And that's what I would do. So I would always like run the safety meetings. I would, do all the captain trainings, and so I satiated myself with that within my current job with the Abbey.
Okay. So teaching just took a different form.
Yeah. It just took a different form. Yeah, and I love it. And I do it today. And when because I was approached in after I got my credential, so I had like a kind of breakdown. I had a burnout moment in 2017 with my company. I'd been with them for like 7 years almost, 6.5 years, yeah. And I was just burning out, and the owner was in and out of the hospital with cancer. It was a really tough time. So he leaned on me a lot to keep the company afloat. But then there just turned into, it was hard. There was like resentment. There was just so much like weird stuff kind of coming to a head. And then finally I just was like, I gotta go. I gotta explore this other thing. And thankfully I had, my wife at the time. Well, she's still my wife, but you know what I mean? She was like, you can do this. I'm here. I've got, a stable job. You can quit this and go back to school, get your credential, do the things and follow that dream. And so I did. And my old boss, he, blessed it. He was like, yes, I understand, go forth and do what you need to do, but I'm always going to be here if you want to come back. So I was like, okay. And that's what I did. So went and I got my teaching credential in physical education, had an awesome experience. Well, the program itself with me, but I met a really incredible human beings along the way. I just gotta say, PE teachers are fucking cool. They are just a rad group of folks. But I digress. I don't know where I was going with that, but I got it. And then after I was teaching for like not even a year, folks, COVID hit. So I'm teaching these beautiful young minds.
Was this PE?
And PE.
Okay.
And it was PE. So I was, leading the charge on PE and Zoom with 13-year-old young minds. Yeah. It was hard. It was very hard. But I think I did pretty good. I mean, we played some games. I did, and that was another thing too, is here I am. Like, I'm always creating certain things and experiences, and I really cared. I just was like, I need to be that person because someone was that person for me. So even if it's just one, and I have the one. I'm really lucky that in the short time that I was teaching, so for 2 years, I got to mentor one, human being and help them with getting to graduate and just kind of just being there for them and supporting them and motivating them just to graduate. And it's like I kind of got that like moment. And so I feel really, really blessed to have that. And even now I'll go to like Home Depot and out of like nowhere, it's like, Coach Lessert? And I'm like, what? And it's my students, so I'm always going to be Coach Lessert to them. And it was a cool thing that I did. But now I'm back with the Abbey because the owner wound up wanting to retire, which is everything that I kind of wanted. I was like, I kind of stopped growing, and there was nowhere for me to go, and I couldn't financially do this on my own. But he came back to me and kind of offered an offer I couldn't refuse. So here I am.
And so,
and teaching is a lot harder than what I thought, for the record.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah, I bet.
Very hard. Like I said, bless all the teachers in the world. I couldn't hang.
So that's what I was going to ask is, what made you choose that versus continuing being a teacher?
Yeah. And I did love it. And I could have, I'm, like I said, I'm tenacious. I'm successful at everything I put my mind to, thank goodness. But it was a lot of squeezing and not a lot of juice. It was really hard. And and financially, I took a huge financial pay cut. But again, all for the betterment of society and young minds. But that faded away pretty quickly. It just wasn't enough to sustain me. And also, I kind of got screwed. I'll not say the F word. But like, they didn't take into account my master's degree, all of my experience. I started from the bottom. So I was like making as much as like a 22-year-old person who just got their teaching degree. And I had all of this like crazy experience, life experience. And I couldn't reconcile it. So money was definitely a factor. Hate to say it. And like I said, I was offered something that just met my financial kind of what I had set in my brain as I'm going to be okay if I can do this. So I just made that decision, and I just knew that I was just working so hard at being the best teacher. And it was hard. It was hard. So it was just one of those things where I could have done it. I could have just said no and kept doing it because I did love it. But it was not easy, and the lesson planning and all those things. And I had to do everything from scratch, which is freeing and exciting, but also a large task to just start from nothing and build it.
Yeah.
So double-edged sword.
No, that makes sense. I think teaching's hard, like, and it does not pay. Like, that's if you're gonna make somebody do a hard task and you're not gonna pay them well, why would anybody like want to do it? Like, you need to be able to live and survive. Like, people become doctors and it's hard, but you get paid well to be a doctor. And teachers also have to work really hard, have to sacrifice a lot of their personal time to create these plans, to grade things, to come up with something new, to deal with parents, and they do not get paid anywhere near a doctor's salary. And I know they're not saving lives. I'm not saying you should pay.
They are though, Vin.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Lives.
Safe spaces and everything. Like, they don't need to be making $300,000, but a baseline of $100,000 for teachers would be phenomenal.
Baseline of 100. I will sign any petition for that, because it is one of the hardest jobs.
But
I've
paying
ever done.
teachers $40,000 to live anywhere is a joke. It's a dishonor and a disservice to them and to students.
It really is, and it unfortunately was a motivating factor for me, because again, when I was planning, because I do plan ahead, but in my mind I thought, oh, with my master's degree I'll start at this level,
how long will it take me to get XYZ? Like, it doesn't math.
The math does not math, and it's too much of a hard work. And of course, for someone who's an overachiever like myself, I'm always putting the kids first, and so I'm like buying things. I fell right into all the teacher traps. I'm spending my own money. I'm working overtime on my own time to create an experience for these kids. It was just, it was too much.
No, I didn't, and I even get into that, like teachers having to fund their classrooms and having to buy all of those supplies for students is ridiculous. And parents get mad that you have to buy, like, the parents have to buy these things. And I'm like, you expect a teacher to buy like 4 classrooms worth of supplies? Are you kidding me? Like, this is wild.
And I did. I like was hell bent on teaching this like navigation unit, because I learned it in my student teaching, and I thought it was just like crazy fun knowledge. But I didn't have the money to they didn't own, and I was teaching at Hoover High School. This is the second oldest high school in San Diego, and they didn't have the funding. So I had to buy compasses enough. And by the way, my class sizes were huge. I mean, I had to have 60 kids, 60 babies in one class. It's 60? Wild, right? For PE, it's actually not a terrible thing. Yeah. More people, the better. But to a point. Long story longer is I had to buy, the compasses so I could teach the unit I wanted to teach. And, and again, I could have said, Megan, don't teach the unit. But I'm strong-minded, and I'm like, no, but I
Yeah.
want to, and it's good knowledge, and
No, that
anyway,
makes sense. And like,
here we
why
are.
would you do something half-assed if you have this knowledge, like this works as a teaching instrument, and it could be really helpful to them. So
Yeah,
why wouldn't you do it that way? Um,
yeah,
until you realize like the math doesn't math. Like this doesn't make sense to pay me this much to do all this work and to not give you more resources.
yeah,
Like it'd be different if the school gave you a budget for stuff, that could actually help you.
yeah. And to their credit, I was
Yeah.
still new. I was still my second year of teaching, so I didn't quite ask for certain things. And maybe down the line, if that became my true blue profession, I could have, would have, should have. But the track record
Yeah.
of schools and funding isn't
Yeah.
very good. So I don't think I would have
Yeah.
gotten that far.
Yeah. And so you've been at
So
the Abbey since, and you're what is your title? As manager? General
general
manager.
manager.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I'm a manager of this little pod here. So we merged with a larger company called Wedgwood Weddings in May of 2023. And that was when the old owner of the Abbey retired. They kind of merged, bought the company, whatever back end deals happened. And so now I'm the general manager of Abbey Catering, which is a kind of subsector, a new subsector of Wedgwood Weddings, because Wedgwood namely has properties, right? Venues. So I'm in wedding planning and very fun business and events. And so, but they don't do just catering, right? Offsite. They work at venues that they own or lease or what have you. But my sector of the company is very special because it just takes a lot of creative, tenacious human beings to do what we do, because we cater and do events offsite at places that we don't own or have property rentals and things at. So we kind of create experiences anywhere,
Okay. Yeah. I love that. And
not just at specific places.
sorry, what else?
No.
Did you
Mm-mm.
I mean, you're general manager, so do you feel you have agency over your life through your career now?
I do. And I have only started saying this for the past couple months. But I'm going to say it because I'm proud of it. And I'm tired. I'm so happy. I hate to say, like, it's like I feel guilty, but I am so happy, and I'm the happiest that I have ever been in my entire life. And it is because of I've just become what I want to be. I love being general manager of this company. People still call me coach, because I'm still kind of coaching and teaching and doing those things. So sales managing and all those things. And I love it. And I have the wonderful support of Wedgwood Weddings, terrific company to work for. Everything fell into the place that I do believe there is some type of cosmic thing that just crashes in together. And I'm living in that moment of all the molecules feel kind of where they're
I
supposed to
love
be right
that.
now.
I'm really happy for you.
Yeah. So I definitely feel I have a lot of agency, and I run this company like it's my own. I mean, it is kind
You're
of my
boss.
own. And yeah, I mean, I am the boss. It kind of stops with me to a degree. And I love my team. I'm able to craft the team that I want. They respect me. I'm so grateful that they do. I don't know why, but no, I just care for them and do the things. I mean, I feel bad for my wife because I spend more time here and care for them like this is my family. And I'm not one of those like weird people that it's like, you're my family, join my cult family at work. But I do spend a lot of time here. So we are friends. We do get along. We do bicker. We do fight. But we also like manage beautiful fucking things and create awesome experiences and once in a lifetime. And it's extraordinarily rewarding. And I'm working on a project now. Sorry, we're at our time, but I I get to set, I don't know, like last year I set a goal. I'm like, I want to learn how to become more sustainable. It's a big buzzword. I don't know anything about it. Everyone's talking about it. And as someone in the food and hospitality industry, I was like, I should probably figure this out. And here I am now. I went and I contacted someone. I got the support. We just got our green certification. And it's like I still get to do fun things like that like the old owner would have been like, I'm not wasting my time on that. Don't waste your time on that. So I get to have my little passion pet projects that make me happy.
Love that.
Yeah.
I know we're close at time. I'm gonna wrap up with 2 more questions, if that's okay.
Okay, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
So I guess, what's your project that you want to set for this year, for your company or for you personally?
Yeah. I am so lucky to be married to an incredible human being, Nicole, who is just in the nonprofit world. And I feel bad for saying it because obviously, like, I am a for-profit business. But it's still one of those things that I want to, give back properly. I'm in a position that I can do that. But no, just kind of being, serving more in the nonprofit community. All my, sales team, my planners, we're all part of the LGBT community. And that's something that also feels really fun where I work. And I'm really lucky that I'm able to create a team that kind of is also part of the LGBT community. And so we just get each other and we can just be authentic at work and talk about our families and this and that. And it all feels normal because it is. But it is the norm here. That's my 2025 goal, is to kind of I've got the wedding thing down, and now I'm trying to expand my view to maybe non-wedding events and socials and things. Not terribly exciting, but
no, I love that. We love a goal-oriented individual. So my final question for you is a little bit different in terms of category from, getting your life story and everything. But it's the question that I'm starting to ask everybody at the end, which is share a message for your younger self. How old is the person that you're leaving this message to, and what is the message?
Now, that's like gonna make me cry. Oh my goodness. Okay. So the message would be to my younger self. Definitely I would be around, so many messages I could have received at multiple pit stops on the way. But I think I would send it to my like middle school self. That's kind of where I'm like stuck in my brain sometimes. Just in life is a very particular time in middle school. So little Megan, people call me little Megan too. So little middle school Megan, I would just say, it does not matter what anyone else thinks about you. You're awesome, and you can do anything that you set your mind to. Ask for help. Don't be afraid to get help from others if you need. And you're perfect just the way that you are. You're smart enough. You're brave enough. You're great enough. And just keep at it, and everything will work out. As long as you keep, your heart right and always do the right thing. And good things will come to you. Yeah. How was that?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I kind of had an inkling you were going to say your middle school self, because you talked about your 13-year-old self earlier.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of burned in my brain, a moment in time. And I think we all have those moments.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be the time for sure. Very tough time.
Absolutely.
Also, that's why I love pugs. By the way, pugs have gotten me through everything in life. They're just amazing angels on earth. And that's another reason why I love my job. I can have this guy here, how awesome is that?
It's pretty rad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see your pug farm in the future.
Well, you're my first donor, so get ready.
I need some time.
I'll give you time.
But I am still down.
Got time. That's going to be my retirement
cool.
plan. So
I love that.
Or when I win the lottery.
Thanks so much for being on the podcast. Is there any way people can reach you if you want to be reached?
Appreciate that. My Instagram's private, so not there. But on Instagram at the Abbey Catering, THEA as in apple, B as in boy, EY catering, CATERING.com, or just email me directly at GM for general manager, GM at abbycatering.com, and I'll hook you up.
Cool. Any wedding event needs in San Diego.
And LGBTQ team. Let's go. Yeah.
I love that.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me. You are just a wonderful human being, and I can see why my wife loves you so much. You're fun to talk to.
We're good homies. Now we're friends too.
Yep, they're perfect. All right. Well, thanks so much for having me, and let me know, whatever you need in the future.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Megan. Right, it was so lovely getting to hear your story. I'll let you go back to your day.
Thanks for holding space for it. It's pretty fun.
Of course.
All right, cool. See ya.
Yay.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Creating Your Conditions, a work of understanding the conditions we are given, forged from, and we have yet to face. You can follow us on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube at Creating Your Conditions, which you can also find in the description of this episode. Again, my name is Vin. It's been a pleasure being your host. Keep creating, and I'll catch you in the next episode.